welcome to Bearing Bipolar. This is Jen. I talk about my life before, during, and after my bipolar diagnosis. Today I wanted to talk about stigma. I did read an article this morning about Selena Gomez being one of the most followed people on Instagram and how she did turn off her comments for her mental health. Just before that, about a week ago, I read another article from Julia Roberts, and she was just talking about how she had this really sweet moment with her niece where she was playing cards with her and wanted to share it with people and posted it, and really her message was lost because all people were talking about was how she was so ugly now, she looks nothing like herself, and just, even a woman in her 50s really hurt her feelings. And so, she was just saying, gosh, if it had like that effect on me, imagine what it would have on, younger people. And all of this just really reminded me a lot about stigma. So I was 24, 25 years old when I was first diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I had no idea what the disease actually was. The only thing I heard about it was it meant like crazy or like Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. That's really how people would reference it. And so that just made me not want to talk about it at all. I did not want to be associated with that. And I was embarrassed. It paralyzed and silenced me for a really, really long time. I didn't actually talk about it, publicly for 15 years. So 15 years, maybe, my family knew, but I wouldn't let it out. I wouldn't let friends know. It really kept me from making more genuine friends, as an adult, because I did want to keep people at arm's length. So I really didn't want to let them in, because I know myself and I know I'm such an open person that if I let you in, I'm going to tell you, so I'm very candid and transparent when it comes to that. But it paralyzed me. I had no idea that it actually ran in my family because we don't talk about it. It's very hush hush when people have it, even within your own family. But what was so great is that my great uncle Pete, he ended up talking about it at one of our family reunions. And those reunions are pretty famous. We've been doing it for over 50 years. We have so many people that we've even been in, newspapers just talking about our tradition. But he came out and just said, this runs in our family. We really need to make sure that we're checking in on each other and making sure that everybody is okay. And it was just a aha moment for me because finally I got confirmation that it did run in my family. Also, my mom, she actually wasn't raised by her biological mother. She was raised by her grandma and her dad. But one day she did take me to meet her mom, and I was able to meet, because half of her siblings were raised by her mom, I was able to meet her baby sister, and she was just telling me some stories about, her mom that really sounded like she was having some manic episodes. So I was like, oh, wow, so it could actually possibly run on both of my families. But, for a lot of the older generation, they really weren't diagnosed. So, a lot of this stuff, again, it's not talked about, and that just adds on, to the whole stigma and the whole silence thing. So, one of the things I wanted to do early on is I really wanted to write a book because I wanted to tell my story. I wanted to share my experience, but I was so embarrassed, that I didn't want my face to go with my words. So I was like, oh, I'll just write a book. That way I can talk about it this way. And, I can kind of be anonymous until, and give it time for me to then later on be more public with it. So I didn't end up finishing that book. You guys have heard this story probably before, but a really young woman ended up committing suicide. And that just really prompted me to just be open and start making videos and start talking about it because I was just so sad when this happened. And I felt a lot of guilt from not talking about what I know because, I was vain pretty much or, embarrassed or just paralyzed with stigma. My therapist had told me for a long time, like, you should be talking about your life, your experience, what you do to stay healthy. those are all things that he would share, anonymously with his other clients. And he's like, you've helped a lot of people through me. And you should really talk about it. And so I started making videos and I started talking about it. And it was one of the most liberating things to be able to openly discuss it. Anybody who knew me, you could talk to me about it. And so many people wanted to understand. And I also had to realize that, you know what? You're going to get judged no matter what, disease or no disease. I mean, people are going to judge you, misunderstand you. You can try to explain yourself, but you can't explain yourself to everybody, because some people, they just don't get it. And I mean, if that's happening to me in my life, without them knowing about my disease, it's going to happen to me with them knowing about my disease. I'm just going to have to be tough enough to say, okay, I've got some criticism. They didn't understand me. Not everybody deserves an explanation. Delete and move on, right? And so the other thing that really was great is that when I did start making these videos, I did get a lot of support, more support than I knew I would get. And it helped me little by little do these videos explaining, the symptoms I have and what I do, and also defining some of the things that they have in articles, like what a delusion is, what a psychosis is, and say what they are to me, because everybody's a little bit different and what they experience is a little bit different. But it did allow me to have a little bit of a platform to tell my story. And so that was a really, really good thing for me and very helpful for me. But even a couple of posts ago, I got a comment from somebody that didn't follow me. I had no idea who they were. And they just left a comment saying, I am so, what did they say? I'm so proud of you. You have made so much progress in opening up. And it just reminded me of how far reaching this really is. And that people may never hit like, they may never make a comment, but they're still there and they're still rooting you on. So I know, coming to this conclusion and this concept is a lot easier in my 40s, because, if I did get that comment in my 20s, I did not have the armor to deal with that type of criticism that I have gotten more recently. And, I would have just shelled up and gone private and probably not let anybody in. But I did have a couple videos where they weren't well received. I mean, they were funny. I thought they were funny. They were my humor, but not everybody got it. And I did get a couple of comments where they misunderstood. And those people were in my circle, so I was happy to explain myself. But not everybody needs an explanation, and not everybody deserves one. So just, stay strong. And even if you're not here, even if it takes you 15 years like it took me, just know that it will happen for you, and that there's a whole community that is ready to support you. I recently did NAMI walks at Liberty Station with my mom, and we had such a great time. But really seeing 3,000 people walking lets you know that you have so much more in common than not with people. And that this really, mental illness is really something that touches a lot more people than you can imagine. And we're all just wanting to get help, and we're all just wanting to, live peacefully. So I love you guys. I'm glad we were able to talk about this today. Have a good one. Bye.